Welcome back to the Preschool All Stars podcast. I'm your host, Joy Anderson, and today I am sharing a very amazing story that I get to be part of. It's actually my story. I know that you probably have been wondering, like, what's going on with the podcast, Joy? I haven't had an episode for a couple of weeks. So I wanted to first off talk about that and then talk about what's going on in my life and where the new podcast is headed. It's the same podcast, but where it's headed. So when we started Preschool All Stars podcast 2 years ago, obviously, Bethany Johnson and I were co-hosts, and she was doing every other episode. So I would do an episode on Tuesday, and then she would interview one of our All-Stars on Thursday. And oh my gosh, for the past 2 years, do you know, like, let me just get some stats really quick for you. I'm going to pull up our stats, and I can't wait to see, because I'm wondering if one of our stats has been crossed, but I'm not sure if it has or not. Let's see here. Oh, it did. Oh, this is just perfect. Okay. Well, then I'm so glad that I'm sharing this tonight, because guess what happened, my friends? We just crossed 100,000 downloads. I don't know who my last 39 listeners were, but I absolutely love you, because you helped to get us over 100,000 downloads. So we've been here for the past 2 years, sharing stories from our Preschool All-Stars, sharing tips on how to start your preschool, how to grow it, all the things, right? But most importantly, I think you've also seen the growth that not only happens in Preschool All-Stars, but the growth that happens in my own life as well, and the direction that I am headed. And so this is an episode where I remember I filmed my 100th episode, and it was like this big thing, and I shared all about the Bring the Mothers Home movement. And I also shared about like my top 10 tips to be able to create a millionaire mindset. I think that was episode number 100. But this, my friends, is going to be another epic episode. This will be my 100,000 download episode. Okay. and where we're headed with this podcast. So let's find out how many episodes we've had. We've had 213 episodes in 2 years. The 100,000 downloads. Let's see. Our most popular episodes, of course, are our first 2 episodes. Obviously, we had 1,000 people download the preschool business plan, which is pretty cool. Interesting, as you can see on the screen, if you're following along on our YouTube channel, we have the majority of people who listen to us in America. However, we also have the Republic of India. We have Canada, Puerto Rico, Zambia, Australia, Spain, Singapore, France, and Thailand. So my friends who are in any of those countries, we're so glad that you are listening in as well. And let's talk now about the future of the Preschool All Stars podcast. So Bethany Johnson, her preschool has been growing so much that she is going to continue growing her preschool, and she's going to be stepping aside from being the co-host of our Preschool All Stars podcast, which leaves me to be our host. And I'm so excited to continue serving you in the Preschool All Stars podcast. I'll continue to be putting out episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, just as we did before. But I wanted to film this episode here because something very epic is happening in my life. As you know, my birthday is actually, quote, today on Tuesday, January 30th, because that's when this episode will release. Right now I'm filming it. It's the night before, but so happy birthday to me. It's also an epic birthday. It is number 40. I am 40 years old. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And the one thing that I had a goal for with my 40th birthday, it was this one thing. I wanted to have my book proposal in the hands of an agent by January 31st, so that that agent could then shop it around to all the publishers, and I would be able to be in the process to securing a book deal for my new book. Now, I can't release the title of my book yet, but I just want to kind of walk you through what's just happened over the past couple months, and did I meet my goal or not, and take you on that journey with me. So if you remember back in the fall, I was writing a lot of my book. I was also working on the book proposal, which is really hard. It's supposed to be 50 pages of like marketing and your author bio and like synopsis of every chapter plus sample chapters. And really you're just trying to sell yourself and trying to showcase that this book can be an amazing book and that it needs to be in the world. You have to prove that this book needs to be in the world. And so through this whole process, I was working with a writing coach from Kelly Notoris's company. That's KN Literary Arts. Fabulous group. They put me together with a fabulous writing coach. Her name is Carolyn, and she's amazing. So this whole fall, I've been working side by side with her, trying to, figure out my hero's journey. And because I'm writing a memoir, it's different than my business book, right? Like Start Your Preschool is all about the how-to and the business side of it. And this is just a story. It's true, but it's supposed to be written in a story form so that it makes people, like to read it. And so this is foreign to me to write in this kind of like descriptive and adjectives and, a language that brings emotion. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is another world over here. But I got through it. And again, all through the fall, originally my goal was December 15th or 16th or something. I was going to put it into a contest, but then I said, you know what? I really want my book proposal to stand on its own two legs. I felt like if I put it into a certain contest, I felt like it might not get the traction that it really needs. And so I wanted it to go the traditional way, which was get it into the hands of an agent, and the agent would take it to publishers to then see, was this a valid book, right? I wanted to prove that this book was needed in the world and was able to be seen by more than just one publishing house, and to really see who shared my vision with me to be able to get it out into this world in a very big way. So as I was going through the fall, like creating everything, I was getting stuck on so many things, like what should the title be called? And I can't reveal the title, and who knows if it'll even be that title. You know how publishers are, they'll change it. What should the title be? What should the subtitle be? What is my hook? The hook is how you basically, it's a 1 or max 2 sentence statement that really draws the publisher in and is like, oh, I want to know more, and really getting stuck on like, what is this book about? Because the more that I was starting to craft the hook, I realized but the book is about so much more than that. It's about like this whole journey of us going up to Northern Idaho for that year. We thought it would be our best year. It turned out to be one of the hardest years of our life before, running back here to Arizona. And so what is this book all about? What's the purpose of the book, right? That was the biggest thing. Like, if I write this story, great. This obviously was part of my life, but how is it going to help anyone else, right? And just had to get real clarity on that. So I finally finished the book proposal. I had to push it off a little bit. So it wasn't December 15th that I was going to be done. I then set a new deadline of January 31st. I said on January 31st, it will be in the hands of an agent. And that was my date, my 40th birthday, January 31st. Here's the crazy thing though, my friends. All I knew was I had the process to get the book proposal done. I had my writing coach, and I knew the exact process that my book proposal would be done by, I think it was January 13th. And she'd give me some tips to fix it, and stuff like that. But after that, I had no road. I had no path forward of how to actually get it into an agent's hands. Okay. It was like just all eyes on the proposal, just get the proposal done, proposal. And then after that, I was kind of like, I don't know, but I'll figure that out when it happens. But there was no path ahead of me of what to do. So here we go. We're going into fall, Christmas. It's in my writing coach's hands. She's editing it. And then I'm like, I'm super busy, right? And I'm all of a sudden realizing, wait a second, I feel like I want to launch another podcast. We'll talk about that in a minute. But as we were, January is getting rolling around, I'm starting to write about a lot of things. I'm starting to put myself out there more, make myself, pretty vulnerable and sharing a lot of things that I typically don't share. Honestly, a lot of the even deepest thoughts that I have, and putting those out there and getting some kickback, and really just trying to figure out, is this what I want to do with going this new direction? Why am I even writing a book? Why am I doing a podcast? Like, oh my gosh, why am I doing any of this? This is really hard stuff. And I kind of forgot about like, oh, the book proposal is supposed to come to me. Like January 13th kind of came and went. And like, I'm like, I think she was supposed to send it to me. Right. And then the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, and finally it's like January 19th or something. And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to have the proposal by now, because I'm like, I believe there was a January 31st deadline somewhere there, and I do not have the proposal back. And so, I'm messaging her and I'm emailing, and I'm like, I can't even get hold of her. This is so weird. And anyways, sure enough, all of her emails, she had sent me the proposal on the 13th. All of the emails had gone to my spam folder, which is so wild, because for the entire every other email I had gotten in my inbox, but for whatever reason, from that moment on, from the 13th on, everything went to the spam folder. So I didn't see it. Anyways, I finally found the proposal that she had sent, and I open it up, and she's got such amazing ideas, little things to change, fixing up all the formatting, making it look beautiful. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Great. But this is not the proposal that I need to send out. Here's why. In that process of her having my proposal in her hands for that month, while she was editing it, I was going through, obviously, the book had been kind of shelved in my head for a while. Now my head was freed up for a bit to think about, where am I headed with this? How am I going to help women with this? Like, what is my purpose in any of this, right? And I've just been thinking, and all through, early January, putting myself out there, creating a lot of frameworks and trying to see how I'll teach some concepts. And I'm realizing something. This book, which I feel like was a stepping stone to a future framework, I'm like, oh my gosh, there was a moment as I was writing the book proposal that I realized there was something that I have not healed from back in 2016. And I'm carrying a lot of mom guilt from what happened in 2016. And I've never talked openly about what's happened in 2016. And at some point I will. But in writing about it in my proposal, writing about it in my book, it's helping me heal. Like just opening up and being aware that sometimes we got to talk about things. We got to put ourselves out there sometimes. We got to work through things. And I'm realizing like, oh my gosh, all of the difficulties that have happened in 2018, 2019, every other year, all the struggles that I had did not start in 2018, my friends. They started in 2016. And that was the domino that triggered everything else. And until I go back to that moment and start healing from that, forgiving myself, until I start healing from that, it doesn't matter what I try to do in the future, because I'm still in a domino effect. You know what I mean? I got to go back. And I'm realizing through this whole process of, this early January period where I did not have my book proposal in my hand, I'm realizing, okay, this book proposal that I just, spent months writing has the wrong hook. Like it's the wrong message. Like it's the same book, but the angle, the messaging, the container that it lives within to say what this book is about is wrong. And I'm like, okay, so I get the proposal back. I change the messaging. I change the hook. And I'm like, awesome. Now what? And it starts ticking by, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know that I'll have it in the agent's hands, because actually I might need to go like build another platform first, new Instagram, new YouTube, new TikTok, new blog, podcast. Like I maybe need to go build this giant audience first in this other niche that will, then my book I can go promote it to, so maybe I won't even put the proposal in anybody's hands for another 6 to 12 months. That's kind of where my head was, because some people had told me like, maybe you're not quite ready for this yet, Joy. Maybe you should build a bigger platform first of the people that want to learn about how to break free from mom guilt. And so that's where I was headed. I was like, okay, I'll just go build a new podcast. I'll go build all these things. Right. And so I started down the process of like, cool, I'm going to launch a new podcast. And in fact, I was like, I'm going to launch it on January 31st. So I kind of like replaced my two goals. I was like, we'll table the book proposal goal and we'll just start a new podcast instead, which is all fine and good, until I realized I don't want to launch it on my own. Like if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to do it the right way. And just like 2 years ago, when I launched this podcast and we got it to number 7 in the parenting category of iTunes, I want to launch the new podcast the same way. I want to make sure I go big. I want to make sure that we have the biggest potential for the most people to listen to it, to be able to be helped by it. I mean, it's the only purpose we do anything, right? Is to help others. And so I contacted my podcast launch team and I said, hey, let's go. And they're like, it's at least 6 weeks out. And I'm like, I don't have 6 weeks before January 31st. And they're like, I know it's not going to be January 31st. I said, okay. So I won't be launching my new podcast January 31st, but I will be launching it soon. How soon? I'm not sure yet. Stay tuned. Stay in my emails. You'll be able to hear all about it. But we are in the process, and we're going to be making sure that we do this in a big way so that everybody can hear about it. It's one of these podcasts that is, I mean, you guys know this is a passion project for me, right? I mean, I've got like my many missions on life, but this is a passion project that I feel very strongly about. It'll be called Bring the Mothers Home. I can't even wait. I'm so excited about it. So now, a couple days before January 31st, as you know, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just tabling the book proposal for, 6 to 12 months. And it'll just sit there waiting for the opportunity. Once I have a giant platform over here, I can then go look for agents. And perhaps it was a bit of a, I don't know, probably a little bit of imposter syndrome, feeling like, well, I'm not capable yet to talk about this. I'm not prepared yet to stand on my own 2 feet with this topic. Maybe I need to go talk to a bunch of people first. And while that is true that I do need to go talk to a bunch of mothers and hear their stories and share their words and learn about how I can help and serve them, I do know that we have a mission that I can start fulfilling today. And so I had one of my good friends just reach out a couple of days ago. She said, hey, I've got a couple questions about, launching a podcast. Can we jump on a call? And I'm like, yes, I would love to help you launch your podcast. Let me give you all the tips about how we did it, how we're doing it again, and give you the, connection for these amazing people so they can help you with your podcast. And not really knowing where that would go, but jumping on the call nonetheless. I think it was just a couple days ago and Saturday. So we're on the call, and through the process, she is also launching a book, right? But she's already like 10 steps ahead of me. And she's already been through an agent, and she's already got picked up by a publisher, and she's already got the book deal, and she's launching her book in August, right? And by the way, we will be fully supporting her when she launches her book. And we're even going to be creating a book club coming up. Who's excited about that? A book club. And her book, when it launches, is going to be one of the books that we have on our book club. So, I mean, I'm reading all sorts of books right now, and I can't wait for this. But okay, so I'm like giving her some tips and talking about how so excited to like have my book, hit the New York Times bestseller list whenever it comes out. And she's like, hey, well, where are you at in the process? And I'm like, well, I've got the book proposal, but a couple of people have said, maybe I need to go build a platform first. She's like, maybe you might, but you've already been working with these women for 14 years. You've already been serving them for the past 2 to 3 years, speaking specifically on these kind of things, even maybe not the words mom guilt, but you've been speaking all around it. And you've already been helping them with your 3-week virtual retreat, Journey to Hope, walking them through the framework to help them go back and heal from these experiences. She's like, you have all the pieces, Joy. Why don't you just go talk to an agent and get their feedback, right? And I'm like, okay. And she's like, would you like me to introduce you to my agent? I said, yes. So I'm talking, guys, 2 days ago, well, really 3 by the time you're listening to this. 2 days ago, though, I had no clue how to find an agent. No clue. I felt like I wasn't ready. 6 to 12 months in the future, minimum. Even when I got there, I don't know how I'm supposed to find an agent. She said, would you like me to introduce you to my agent? I believe in what you're doing, Joy, and I would love to make that introduction. And I said, yes. So she sent the email yesterday, okay, which was really Sunday. Anyways, getting my days all mixed up based on when this is actually going to release for you. But she sent the email on Sunday. And she's like, she introduced us. And then I wrote back with like, hey, I'm super excited to meet you, agent. And here's a little bit about me. And then I said, I also have a 50-page book proposal if this is something you feel like you might like to look at. She writes back on Monday and says, I would love to look at your book proposal. Feel free to send it over. So my friends, did I hit my goal by January 31st to have my book proposal in an agent's hands? Yes, I did. Like, isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy how you can set a goal and work so hard for it and not know how things are going to turn out and not know the path that it's going to work out. And yet when you put in the work and when you do everything you can, if it is the right time, things will work out. So I'm super happy tonight, going to bed the night before my birthday. Tomorrow you'll hear it's actually my birthday when you're listening to this. But like, I hit my goal and I couldn't be more thrilled. Where this will go from here, I have no idea. Either she'll love it or maybe someone in her agency will pick it up, or maybe nobody will. I don't know. But I know that I've done everything I can to get it to the stage. And now I'm ready for that next conversation to happen to see how we can improve it. What else we need to do to fix it. Maybe I'm early in the game and I need, like Catherine, I need to keep doing more things to prepare myself before I can get to that next stage. Whatever it is, I'm game because I'm here for the long game. And so this is just what I wanted to share with you tonight is that whatever you are currently working on, I remember I've been working on like the idea of writing this book for almost 2 years now, right? Holy cow, it's been a long journey, not only living the book of what happened in the book, but then also obviously writing about it, right? And having this vision of having this book shared with every mother in the world, and being shared between sister and friend and aunt and niece and neighbor. Like that is how I view this book. That is how, when you realize that you can give the lessons that you've learned through all of the trials that you've gone through, and you can give just the lessons to someone else and they don't have to go through those trials. That's beautiful. That is like how you turn the trials into good, right? And I firmly believe that that is what we're here for. Like we all go through stuff, but it's how we can take those lessons and pass them on. That's why we're here. So, so now let's talk about this new podcast that's going to be coming soon. And I also want to share the framework around what I believe the podcast is going to be about and what I believe my new mission is about. Because my friends, as I told you, this was going to be an epic episode, the 100,000th download episode. This is, I think episode 214 or something. We've been doing this for 2 years now, almost to the day. And what a journey this has been. I remember, I think it was probably 3-4 years ago when I first got this phrase come to me, bring the mothers home. And when it came to me, I couldn't really figure out what it was all about. I remember writing an email that day, just like, this is what I feel bring the mothers home means to me. What does it mean to you? And at the time I thought it had everything to do with preschool. I thought it had to do with helping mothers come home to be able to, spend time with their families and still create that income. And that's the lens that I saw it through, the filter, right, that I saw it through. Then over time, obviously, I've learned that it's not just about preschool. It's about so much more. It's about mothers serving their families and their communities, bringing them home. But, these past couple of years, I've still questioned, why did I go up to Northern Idaho thinking that I was going to create these retreats, right? With the curriculum to help women heal their souls. Like, why? We haven't done a single retreat. Why was I given that curriculum from Melody? Why was I put in connection with her? Why did I see the, curriculum being taught in the barn? What is this all for, right? How do we bring the mothers home to what, right? Is it to bring them home physically? Is it to bring them, because you can be physically home and still not emotionally home, right? I think we're all there. Like we can be home, but we're not actually present. How do we bring the mothers home? Is it to be emotionally home so that we're present with our families? How do we bring the mothers home? Is it to help bring them home to themselves so that they feel more confident in themselves and be able to discover their purpose? And, what is it, right? And I have questioned this so many times. And a couple of years ago, I literally asked God, like, what is this? Because I kept getting this phrase, bring the mothers home, over and over. What is this? And I got the impression, this is your podcast. Now, we had built the Preschool All Stars podcast, and that wasn't it, right? I mean, that's a good podcast. This is the one you're listening to right now, but that's not the podcast that will serve this Bring the Mothers Home mission. And I believe that, you remember I always don't like the word ready. Becky Reed, she's been so phenomenal this past week as we've been voxing back and forth, my ideas, her ideas, trying to figure out, what does all this mean? Where am I going? Where am I headed? What am I supposed to teach? She's been phenomenal to help me get my thoughts together. And she said, Joy, I know you don't like the word ready, but I believe the word you're looking for is prepared. And not that you're preparing yourself, because we all are preparing, and we'll never get to a time when we're like, we're totally prepared. It's not that. We are being prepared. Oh, now doesn't that take a different tone? There is a time and a place for everything, right? In fact, I am going to look at this really quick. If I can find it, let me see if I can find it really quick. Yes, because I love this. And I actually did search. I was like, okay, I know that's a scripture somewhere. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, right? So there is a time and a purpose for everything. Sometimes we have to be prepared before we can go do the thing. So even though we are preparing ourselves, we are doing all that we can do, we don't know the behind the scenes work that is being done in us, for us, through others, to us. We don't know what's being done for us in the behind the scenes work, do we? But it is preparing us to be at that moment capable to do the thing we need to do. So when I thought, years ago, okay, I'm the leader of the Bring the Mothers Home movement. Great. I don't have no clue what that means, right? But I'll keep walking that path regardless, because eventually I know that step will be given to me. And you keep walking the steps. And over time, I think I'm supposed to go do the retreats. Cool. Let's all move up to Northern Idaho. Off we go. And I'm thinking, let's do retreats. Come on. Right? Month goes by, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. What are we doing? Right? If we're not going to do retreats, if we can't do retreats, it actually turned out we could not legally do retreats there. If we can't even do retreats here, what are we doing here? Right? But little did I know I was being prepared through that experience to go serve this mission, but in a way that I didn't know about yet, right? But I was being prepared. Coming back here, I need to write this book, right? We're being prepared through this whole thing. So I'm talking to Becky Reed this past couple of weeks, and this whole time I've just been bringing the mothers home to what? What am I bringing them home to? Is it so they can start their own businesses? Is it so they can quit their jobs? Is it so they can be with their family? Is it so they can't what, And I remember that in that letter that I had written to myself, which I believe was a download from God a couple of years ago, it was serving their families and their communities. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? What is a community? Because I don't serve my local community. I mean, yes, I serve my family. I serve All Stars and other people in the world, but I don't serve my local community. So it never resonated, right? And then the coolest thing, Becky and I are talking back and forth. And we bounce off, and I'm like, what is this? Bring the mothers home. And that word home is just really resonating with me. Home, what is home, right? Is it the place we live? Well, some people would say that their home is not, it's a house and they don't want to be there because there's some really difficult things going on. So what is a home, right? And is it within us, And I Google. Now, personally, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I Googled, what is home LDS? Because I wanted to figure out, what does my church believe about home, And I just felt there was something there for me. And in fact, if you will, my friends, I am going to play a video because I feel really strongly that this led me in the exact direction that I need to share with you. So give me 1 second here when I find it. All right. Getting close, my friends. Thanks for being so patient. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I came across this video that popped up. And as I was watching the video, I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. 1 second, I'm going to kind of scooch it forward here.
Signed questions of how does history, full instinct.
Okay, so in this video, they're talking about inside of creatures, inside of mammals, inside of butterflies, you know, whales, dolphins, all these different creatures on the earth, there is this instinct within them to return home, right? This, you know, penguins like travel all these miles, right, to this one place. Butterflies migrate. Like there is within them this instinctual thing that calls them home, right? And I was watching this video, and I'm going to play the video and I want you to listen to it. And at the end, there was something that happened in the middle that I will share at the end of this video, but I'll tell you, I finally got the answer to what the Bring the Mothers Home movement is. So go ahead and watch this movement, or watch this movie here.
We cannot help but also ask the question, is it possible that human beings have a similar yearning, an inner guidance system, if you will, that draws them to their heavenly home? I believe that every man, woman, and child has felt the call of heaven at some point in his or her life. Our beloved Father in heaven has given us the light of Christ, and deep within each one of us, a heavenly stirring urges us to turn our eyes and hearts to Him. Some might suppress this yearning and deaden their souls to its call. But those who do not quench this light within themselves can embark on an incredible journey, a wondrous migration toward heavenly climes. When you walk the path of discipleship, when you move toward Heavenly Father, there is something within you that will confirm that you have heard the call of the Savior and set your heart toward the light. It will tell you that you are on the right path and that you are returning home.
Oh, my friends, that is it. That is, as I was watching that video, in the middle of it, clear as day, bring the mothers home to me. Bring the mothers home to God. When I've been searching this entire time, what does bring the mothers home? Is it so they can stay home, make money, be with their kids? My friends, it is deeper than that. It goes beyond that. It goes within us. When we align our will to God's, when we finally say that what is my purpose here in life? And when we get clear on that, when we get instruction on that, when we move forward in life in full, complete alignment with that purpose, everything works together for our good. I'm not saying everything works out, but everything works together for our good, for that purpose. And I get that download, like, bring the mothers home to me. The whole purpose, my friends, is to get still and discover what is our purpose in life. Where are we going? Where are we going home to? How are we serving others? How are we serving our families? How are we serving our communities? Not the local communities we're in, the communities that we impact. These could be virtual communities. These could be communities in your local area. It could be your church. It could be your school. It could be your kids' school. Any community that you can impact for the better. That is what communities mean. You know, your family. So many times I have sat and I have questioned, where does this all fit in? Because I've viewed this as family on one side and business on the other, and I am smack here in the middle, and I can neither do nor, because if I do either, I sacrifice one or the other. And I have sat there in the middle of this very confusing place, and I've said to myself, why would God give me these talents, these skills, these missions, this heart that wants to serve? Why would he give that to me if he does not give me the ability to still have my family be strong as well? I feel like if I'm serving my family, I'm not serving my mission. I feel like if I'm serving my mission, I'm not serving my family. How do I do both? And I have felt for so long it's one or the other. And it's very interesting. There is a beautiful quote that one of our amazing all-stars sent me that has been resonating on my heart this entire time. And it is the most important work of God's work that we will ever do will be within the walls of our own home. There's another quote that I love that's, no success can compensate for failure in the home. And I've pondered these words, home, home, bring the mothers home. Like, so we can do nothing outside the home? Everything is within the home, and anything we do outside is other. And I really questioned that for some time. And I'm feeling so, what is the word? Like incongruent, feeling very incongruent in my life because of the passion, the drive to go serve is so greater than my home. And I was talking to Becky back and forth, trying to figure this out. I'm saying, Becky, why are we told this? Why are we told it is so important to serve inside of our home when we have all these talents to go serve other places as well? And she said, Joy, we have never once been told to only serve in our home. We have been told to go love others. We have been told to go serve others. We've been told to go help others, to go outside of our home to go serve. That is why we have talents, to go grow them, but not at the sacrifice of our family. There it is. Not at the sacrifice of our family. And she said she had an epiphany this past year where her business was also taking her in a direction away from her family. And she said, I'm not comfortable with this. I want to do things with my family. What things can I do with my family in the business so they can do business with me, so they can go serve with me, so we can be together doing these things? She said it's changed everything for her. I think also of a similar framework. I view this a little bit differently. I view this, and in fact, I would have drawn this out for you, but I'll just visualize it for me, or visualize it with me. Imagine a target, okay? Imagine a target, okay? You've got the center, the bullseye, yes? And then you've got the circles that expand out, right? Okay. For so long, I viewed business and my mission and family, two different circles, and me in the middle, confused, stuck, can't serve either one of them well, because if I'm serving one, I'm not serving the other. Where do I go? I've always been frustrated and confused about that. And then I said, it's not two separate circles, Joy, bring them in. And I view this now as a target with God in the center. And if we always align our will to his, okay, or get as close as we near can, right? I mean, because come on, we're still figuring this out. But if we can align our will to his, if we can get in tune with what our purpose is on this earth, what are our unique talents and skills and things that we can develop? How are we meant to be vehicles and be used so that we can serve others, right? What should we do in our life, right? And a huge portion of that is within our family. And there are other skills and talents that are meant to be expanded upon, to go beyond our family, my friends, but not all at once. Sometimes, and I'll tell you, there are some times when I go to church and I'm like, I cannot do all this. Like, it is too much. And there are just a gazillion things that I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, I can't. And I feel worse afterward because it's so much. I'm like, I can't do it. Right? God doesn't want us to feel like that. Like, there is so much we can do. But here's the kicker, my friends. Oh, it's so good. So view this as a target, God in the center. You're next, okay? You're the next center circle out. Sometimes we got to serve ourselves for a little bit. Sometimes we got to make sure that we're okay. When that happens, then we can serve our families, right? We can expand out to serve our families. Beyond that, we can serve our communities, right? But the thing is, we don't have to be serving everybody every time at once. We can go out and we can serve our communities and we can come back. And we can serve our family and we can come back. And we can work on ourselves and we can come back, right? Like we're just this. And I told Becky, I said, what has helped me, because I am such a short-sighted vision person. I see things literally sometimes only an hour ahead of me. My daughter laughs and stuff because she wants to know everything that's going on. What are we having for dinner? College? Where are you going to college? Gosh, she's 12 years old. She's like, where am I going to college? Okay. So I see things so short. Like she'll come to me and be like, what are we having for dinner? I'm like, it's 9 a.m. I know what I'm doing for the next 2 hours. Like, I don't know what we're doing for dinner, but when it is 5 o'clock, I will figure that out. And like, what are we doing tomorrow? When is this going to happen? And I'm like, I got today, girl. I got today. That is what I can tell you today. And so therefore, when I have all these strong emotions and like missions and like things I want to accomplish, I'm like, let's do it now. And I feel so overwhelmed because I cannot do that now. I can't accomplish everything I want now. And so frustrating, right? So when I view this circle, and this is what I told Becky, I view this target. I said, Becky, everything within this is all of our abilities, our skills, our talents, our abilities to serve. But I said, Becky, this is our whole life. Becky, we got our whole life to do this. No longer do we need to have guilt within us to say, oh, but I didn't do this with my family today, or I didn't do this with my mission today, or I didn't do this for this person today. Oh my gosh, like I'm just failing in these things, right? Or I've made this mistake, or I made this mistake here. I didn't, magnify my callings for the past 6 months, 12 months, 6 years. I don't even know. My point is like, this is our whole life. And God's given us like this whole time to be able to go out and come back and out and come back in all these different areas, but never all at once. But we have our whole life to do it. So my friends, that has given me so much like peace, knowing that we do not have to do everything at once. We're not meant to. We're meant to like not run faster than we have strength to walk, right? I think that's another one, like, which is helpful for me to keep saying over and over in my head because I just want to run. I just want to get so much accomplished, right? I just have so much to share. So this is what I'll leave you with tonight. If you are having the same feelings that you are questioning, like, what is my purpose here? What are my talents? What are my unique abilities? Where am I meant to serve? Just take some time and get still. You have the ability to receive that knowledge for yourself. And I will help you along the way in whatever way I can, helping to provide little frameworks and little ways to see things differently as I create our new podcast that's going to be launching soon. And I hope you'll join me with it. I hope we'll be able to share the message and get it to the top 10 again of the, this will be the self-improvement category in iTunes. And I just can't wait for the next chapter of the Bring the Mothers Home movement. So I thank you for being with me on this entire journey. And I'm so grateful for you. Every single one of you has helped me to be able to get more clarity on this, and hope you have an amazing time. My friends, I will see you again for another episode of the Preschool All Stars podcast in the future. But for now, have a great night.